G'day cocktail lovers, how are you? I hope you're still keeping well, which is, it feels like a bit of a more challenging thing to maintain day by day in this strange COVID world of ours. But trying to stay positive because July 19, that's World Daiquiri Day, apparently. That's something to be positive about. Oh, I do notice in the Northern Hemisphere summer that all the tropical drinks have a day. In the last couple of weeks, there's been Mai Tai Day and Pina Colada Day, Mojito Day, and now Daiquiri Day. Yes, look, it's the middle of winter for me. I'm not going to let that stop me from making a daiquiri. And there's so much room for exploration with daiquiris. The basic recipe, rum, lime, and sugar. And there are about 1 million permutations beyond that. Even just the ratios, it's very rum forward. Like usually at least like 2 ounces of rum to 1 ounce of lime juice, maybe half an ounce of sugar syrup. Or, a lot of people will actually use sugar in it. But there's so many mutations, permutations, variations among there. People do all sorts of weird, wild, wonderful things, adding different liqueurs, sometimes vermouth, sometimes curacao, sometimes white creme de cacao. The rum is by default a white rum, and usually not an aged one, not an overproof one, a milder rum. Bacardi is a very popular choice for a daiquiri. But some people will use an amber rum, and then there's always the nuclear daiquiri that uses an overproof rum, which is all kinds of different. What I'm going to make is a variation on a Papa Doble. Ernest Hemingway was particularly fond of daiquiris, and a special one was made for him that was double the normal amount of rum compared to the lime and sugar components. So I'm going to make a variation on that variation. But remember, if you want to keep it simple, it's rum, lime, sugar, or sugar syrup. And a classic ratio would be 2 ounces of white rum, 1 ounce of fresh squeezed lime juice, if you can get it, and half an ounce of sugar syrup. Now, I am going to use a few of these little variations, and I'm going to clarify the cocktail. You may have seen me do that with other drinks, milk clarified or milk punch style drinks, and you can do that with dairy milk or basically any milk that has fat content. I've done one with almond milk, and I've done it with, cream of coconut, which is what I'm going to use today. It's a little bit cheeky because although the daiquiri is a very tropical drink, there's no coconut in it. I'm really going outside of boundaries by putting coconut, but I'm using it as a clarifying agent. It will give the drink a little bit of a coconut flavor, but I know from experience it won't dominate it. But there's a couple of things I'm trying to use up. I saw a recipe that said you can put vermouth in. Cool. I have some vermouth I'm trying to use up before it goes off. So there's going to be some sweet vermouth in this. There's going to be some white creme de cacao because I've got a bottle just about finished that I'm going to put a bit of that in. And rather than just lime juice, I'm also taking a tip off some of the recipes I saw. I'm going to do some lime juice and some ruby red grapefruit juice in here. And as I said, then I'm going to clarify it. So it will be, I will predict now the final product will be a very clear, light yellow drink, and I'm betting it tastes really good as well. But let's get to it. A Papa Doble would traditionally have twice as much rum as your average daiquiri. So rather than 1.5 or 2 ounces of rum, it'd be 3.5 or even 4 ounces of rum in a Papa Doble. I'm actually making enough of this clarified drink to make several drinks. It's basically to serve quite a few people. Let's call it a Papa Triple. I am actually going to put 6 ounces of the Bacardi white rum into this little beverage. A Papa Doble would traditionally have 1 ounce of lime juice in it, but because I'm making a larger mix, I'm going to do 1.5 ounces of some lime juice I squeezed earlier. Same deal with the grapefruit juice. Typically you'd use 1 ounce. I'm making a bigger serve, so I'm putting in 1.5 ounces of grapefruit juice. Now we come to the lawless anarchy bit of this drink I'm making. Using up stuff I want to use up. There was 1/2 ounce of white creme de cacao left in the bottle, so that's what's going in. Is he a mad scientist? Has he lost all sense of reason? Can anyone stop me? No, they can't. Putting in 1.5 ounces of sweet vermouth. You know what? I was going to stop with my wild, lawless ways there, but I thought, no, let's keep it. Let's push the envelope. I'm going to put in a type of rum you normally really would not put in a daiquiri, but I'm going to clarify this, which is going to soften edges and it won't be as harsh. I'm going to put some aged rum, 7-year-old Flor de Cana, just 1 ounce, and we'll see what that does to the whole flavor profile. Finally, I am going to put a little sugar syrup in. 1/2 fluid ounce is normal for a Papa Doble or for any sort of daiquiri, really. I'm not going to put more than that in because the clarifying agent I'm going to use, my homemade cream of coconut, is extremely sweet. Now, maybe you don't need this at all, but this is a special sweetener I made. It's actually what's known as oleosaccharum. I've mentioned in other videos. It's basically sugar put on the peel of citrus, which draws the oils out of the citrus. Then you mix it with water to make a sugar syrup that has a really nice citrus tang. So as I'm just not following any rules in this one, I'm going to put 1/2 ounce of my oleosaccharum in. Speaking of using things up, the reason I decided to use my homemade cream of coconut as opposed to dairy milk as a clarifying agent, well, first because I did think coconut, it's kind of tropical, even though you don't normally put it in, it'll be fine. Also, I'm trying to use this up, and if you're ever trying this at home, a good ratio of your actual drink to your milk agent should be about 4:1. And given the diabolical madness of all the things I put in there, I'm going to go with, I'm not quite using all of it, so that's, I'm going to put 3 ounces of my cream of coconut in another container. Not in the same container as a drink. You have to add the drink to the milk, not the milk to the drink. That actually makes a difference. You would usually shake a daiquiri with ice, but I'm not finished the process yet. I'm just making sure the sugar syrup's mixed in. I'm gonna have a cheeky taste. That is a, whoa, that's not bad. That is a really interesting drink. The interesting thing to me is it's going to taste really different after I clarify it. Now you can see it's kind of a dirty orangey brown, and it's somewhat opaque at the moment. After the clarifying process, it'll be very clear. My prediction will be it'll be quite a light yellow. Won't be clear, transparent, but it'll be, I'm betting, pretty close to it. Little tip I've learned from experimenting with the different clarifying agents, if you try this yourself at home, if you do it with dairy milk quickly forms curds, quite thick curds, clumpy curds, and the curds are actually your filtering agent for clarifying the cocktail. My experience of doing it with the cream of coconut is when it separates into much finer particles. And what you need, so I'm adding this to this, as I said. Ooh, that's quite a bit. That's going to serve quite a few people when I'm done. What you need is for the curds to fall to the bottom of your filter. I'm just going to run this through a coffee paper filter. Paper coffee filter? I'm not sure which is the right way to say that. Yeah, so I'm going to run this through a coffee filter, and while the coffee filter will be doing a lot of filtering, the heavy work is actually done by the curds. Now with the milk, the curds form more quickly and go to the bottom and do their work. What I learned doing this with the cream of coconut is it's much finer and it's more slow to get to the bottom. So a lot of the drink will go through without being particularly well filtered. What goes through at first will be quite cloudy. You'll have to put it through more than once. But then once this settles, it really settles, and the drink goes through very slowly. So depending on the volume that you make, you have to set aside anywhere from an hour to a couple of hours for the filtering process. So when you next see me, some considerable time will have passed. Time has passed, and after multiple filtrations, this is my daiquiri. I was calling it a Papa Doble, turned into a Papa Triple, turned into a FrankenDaiquiri, quite honestly. I'm surprised. Most of the drinks I've made, when they've been brown before the clarification, have been some shade from yellow to amber. This has got the tiniest bit of colour. It's like white wine, but it's really clear, and I love it. And I also learned something new in this clarification process. When I put this in the fridge to chill, it actually got cloudy. And I was talking about this on a live stream because it's been several days since I made this. And on live stream, people said, well, tell us the science, big guy. And I had to guess, remembering my high school science, it's about the solution, and what stays in solution is often temperature dependent. Warmer liquids are more likely to keep things in solution. Like, it's easier to dissolve sugar in hot water than it is to dissolve sugar in cold water, for instance. So I'm pretty sure what was happening is, as it got cold, something was coming out of solution, probably a byproduct of the coconut, in all honesty. That would be my primary guess. And it was interesting, but I just like it clear, so I wanted to show it to you clear. So I've left it out of the fridge so it goes room temperature, but now I need to do a taste test. And to do that, because I've let it get to room temperature, I'm going to put it in a glass with a big old chunk of ice. Here's my tiki goblet that I've had chilling in the freezer. It's got a great big cube of ice in it. So we'll just pour this over ice. I should do those flash close-ups like some cocktail channels do, to let you actually see. One of the things I love about milk clarifying drinks is it changes the consistency of them. Like, that may well look like water, but it's just slightly noticeably more viscous. When you pour it, the extra viscosity is noticeable. When you drink it, it's really noticeable. It's a really great part of the drink, the change in the mouthfeel. I think that's probably chilled it enough. I could stir it Gaz Regan style with my finger, just to be sure that it's chilled it down. Don't trust barmen who do that. But yeah, now I'm going to try, for Daiquiri Day, my rather improvised FrankenDaiquiri. Ooh, my word, that's good. That is really good. Oh, what's interesting to me is often when I clarify the drinks, it definitely takes the edge off the alcohols that are in it. And sometimes I think, wow, that doesn't taste like alcohol at all. This one does definitely taste like alcohol. I feel like I can taste the vermouth in it, which is a surprise because I thought the rum might have been front and center. It's not that it doesn't taste like rum, but it's got a nice dry edge to it, which is surprising considering how many sweet things in it, like the volume of pineapple juice. And I did put a bit of sugar syrup in there. Wow, it's, for something that was largely an experiment, I think it's worked very well. And while I'm not sure how much of a purist Hemingway was, I think he'd like a clarified daiquiri, particularly if I told him how much rum was in it, because that was his specialty, Papa Doble with the double serve. And this one is very generous with the serves I put in. I made enough volume to make, 3 or 4 drinks, quite honestly. So this will probably keep me happy for the rest of the night. I hope things are keeping you happy as well. Hope you enjoyed that. If you're not already subscribed, it would be great if you did subscribe. And hey, maybe tell your friends. They should subscribe too. So let me know, because there are a million variations of a daiquiri. I'd be very interested to know how you like it, what ratios, what ingredients, whether you are a purist who only wants, you know, the rum, the lime and the sugar, or if you love adding some other elements to it, because there are so many riffs on the daiquiri, you're only limited by your imagination, really. And yeah, I thoroughly recommend trying a Clarified one. I did do it with the cream of coconut. You could do it just with dairy milk, or if you're a vegan, you could be doing it with almond milk. I think that would probably work. One of the nut milks would probably work as well. It'll lend a bit of a different flavor profile to it as well. Experimentation, name of the game. So I hope you did enjoy that. I did, and I enjoy the experiments, and I'll be doing some more in the future. I hope you join me for them. I'll leave you this Daiquiri Day with a simple cheers.